You're listening to the After the Show movie podcast brought to you by ascully.com. And here are your hosts, A Scully and Sid Talk. Good afternoon, Sid Talk.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It is technically afternoon, but I think we're into evening.
Oh, it's the night where the clocks fall back.
Fall back, spring forward. Correct. Always got to say that.
So remember, everybody, by the time you've listened to this, you'll have all falled back already, and you'll all be complaining.
You've gained an extra hour. No. You shouldn't complain about this one.
Oh, you'll still be complaining that everything's off and you can't get asleep and something's wrong.
If anyone's listened to any of our 500 podcasts around these times of the year, they will know my opinion. They're a bunch of freaking whiners. 1 hour. I understand. Babies, elderly people who are maybe, and I do know this, elderly people with dementia and Alzheimer's, schedules are extremely important. So you don't want to throw them off even by an hour. I get that. I know that. I've experienced that in my life. Medicines, things like that. We don't want to screw with those. But you are an adult. It's 1 fucking hour. You'll be fine.
I did see one guy on YouTube complaining, oh, there's 1 hour less daylight now. So my reply to him was, get up an hour earlier.
Yeah. It's really
it's
shocking.
Very simple.
How people, it's an hour. I'm not a sleeper person necessarily. You know me, I pile it up. Then I'll sleep one good night.
Holy shit, you will sleep like 13 hours.
But after 5 days of not sleeping more than 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours at a time. Because I just think it's boring until I'm super tired. Then
Personally,
I'm ready.
I love sleeping.
I don't know. I just think it's really boring. The process of going to sleep, the process of waking up. Maybe that's why I hate waking up and getting up. So I've avoided it in my life as much as possible by staying up sometimes multiple days in a row. So 1 hour, shut up.
Yeah, that told them.
That told them. They'll from now on, they'll never bother them again.
Yeah, screw you guys. All right, so it is Saturday, November the 3rd. Happy November, everybody. And it is After the Show. Look at the number of this show. Number 555.
Ooh, that's a lot.
That is 555 shows.
I said last night, someone would, how you and I will find a podcast or a YouTube person, and you're like, oh, I love this person. And you're like, oh, they have 3 years of videos or 20 videos to watch, or, there's 50 podcasts. How exciting. But then some of them you find out like, oh, they only have 3 videos. Oh, they've only been doing a podcast for a month. And you're like, oh, you run out real quick when you catch up.
That's true.
But if you are just discovering us now, you have 554 other hours and a halves of your life to have us going into your ear. And after my lovely introduction of lecturing you about your hour, I can't imagine anyone wouldn't want to do that and listen to them all.
Me neither. So, show 555. We're looking at a movie. We're a movie review podcast. And the movie we're looking at this week is Don't Worry, You Won't Get Far on Foot. It's a 2018 movie. It's released on Blu-ray now. You can pick it up from Lionsgate. And it's rated R for mature. And Sid Talk will give you the synopsis of Don't Worry, You Won't Get Far on Foot.
The synopsis is it's based on a true story of a man who was an alcoholic, ended up a paraplegic, and his journey of
This sounds like the back of the box.
Acceptance, self-whatever, overcoming his personal demons, as people like to call them. It's just sort of his, him coming of age. Even though he would have been 30.
Your synopsis sounds really corny, but I will add a footnote to that. It's exactly what
it's exactly what it is. Yeah, that's it.
It is. So, Sid Talk, what did you know about Don't Worry, You Won't Get Far on Foot before you watched it?
Nothing? Absolutely no thing.
No trailer?
No trailer. Didn't even, when I saw the name, I'm like, what?
Did you even know the guy in the real life guy? Did you heard of him or?
No. Unfortunately, no, I had not.
So, interestingly enough, I also knew nothing. Didn't see the trailer. Only thing I knew is the people who were in it from seeing the box. and the fact that it was a true story and Gus Van Sant was involved. So it's a true story of a person who most people wouldn't know, right? It's very niche,
I would
isn't
say,
it?
yeah. I mean, I don't know because, I don't know every famous person, but...
I did look him up just now on Wikipedia. I mean, he won loads of awards, and he was like, his book was the top of the New York Times bestsellers at the time and stuff. So within certain circles, he would have been well known. He was a cartoonist, and he wrote the book himself. So it's not like somebody's opinion of what was going on; it's him. But he's this cartoonist. He did cartoons for the different magazines. In fact, when in the movie he was rejected from the New Yorker, his actual cartoon strips were in the New Yorker a couple of times. He was in Penthouse, he was in Rolling Stone, just big magazines and he's a satirical cartoonist who was a little bit controversial. Well, maybe not a little bit, quite a lot.
From what we saw, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the story of his life, most of his adult life, let's say. So how did you feel about it?
I enjoyed it. I think it was at times a little preachy, but if that's how the book came out, preachy about the 12-step program, AA, I'm not knocking it. It helps millions of people. It truly does. But in this movie, there doesn't seem to be an out or an option. It's like he's fighting the 12-step thing, and the only thing to salvage himself is this.
Right.
If that is the way his life was, fair enough. But as a story, telling it to you, it seems like a narrow, a little bit narrow. Other than that, I felt like it was just as sad as it is.
It's
right?
really sad.
It's really sad.
I actually felt sad
devastating to think about the people in life that are, and I'm going to say this with the utmost respect, but they're invisible to most of us, right? You and I are, from our head to our toes, from our heads to our feet, we can get up, walk around, grab things, carry things, ride a bike. I could run if I put my mind to it. I can reach for things and climb for things and get through my life. If I fall down, I can get myself back up. I can take my own shower. I can feed myself. Unless someone in your direct life doesn't have the option for those things because of their physical limitations, they're not there. And so it flooded in like so many people have no ability to just, right now, if I said, oh, I really have to go pee, I just hop up and go.
Yeah.
And the only time I've ever realized I take that for granted is when I've been on crutches after surgeries, when I couldn't stand up by myself, couldn't actually sit down on a toilet because of whatever medical thing was happening. Then you realize, holy crap, I'm so lucky, or whatever it is, so that throughout this entire movie, I was thinking more about that part of his life than him overcoming his self-loathing and his feelings of being unwanted and all that kind of stuff, which was huge. That's the huge part of his whole life. But I thought more about the way they portrayed a person who isn't being treated delicately. His people around him don't they don't cater to him so much. The guy who helps him out isn't really that. He's just I will show up when I want to show up.
And he's not particularly likable at the beginning of
Correct.
the movie.
He's not likable. And so the vibe is, so what if he's in a wheelchair? I'm not going to kiss his ass. And I felt like that was I got that really strongly from his personality, that his personality was bigger than his disability.
So there might be some spoilers, but, this is like a person's life. It's not really they're holding back plot details to surprise you or anything. It's just, it's more a character piece than anything. But the reason this guy, John Callahan, is in a wheelchair is not because he's a war hero or anything, whatever you might think he's in this wheelchair. It's a dumb reason. He got really wasted with a dude he just met.
Yeah.
And they got in a car drunk and they crashed the car. And he ended up a quadriplegic. So it's a dumb reason. It's not a hero. Yeah. He's not a hero. It's not that. And that is the thing he's struggling with throughout this movie, well, throughout his life and this movie. I really enjoy, like, the doctor when he woke up from the...
Yeah.
And
no sympathy whatsoever.
Sympathy. It's like, you're a drunk driver. You're almost like, wow,
you're wasting my time.
Yeah.
Even though he wasn't driving.
No. But he was he could have said no to get in the car, and he could have stopped the guy, I guess, couldn't he? So he ends up in this wheelchair, and then it's the process of him, he doesn't like himself. He uses alcohol to medicate himself. He goes to these AA meetings that are interesting. I thought they were not like
very interesting.
They weren't like or not,
It wasn't really a meeting. This guy, Jonah, whatever his name is,
Donnie.
He is their sponsor, and so he just brings all of his people together at a time.
I loved that whole aspect of it because it isn't an official AA meeting, like you said. It's this rich. He's a rich guy.
Yeah.
But he's a bit of he's sad. He feels really sad to me, like he's got a sad existence.
Definitely.
And it's interesting that he's making his own AA meeting to hang with people who are similar to him to make him feel better. Kind of for a selfish reason. He even admits it, doesn't he? That's a selfish reason that he's doing it. That's why these meetings seem really interesting, I think. He's kind of like the leader of them, but he's just as fucked up as all of those people.
Yeah.
So I felt like a lot of the movie, these meetings that he goes to, they were like they were really, the dramatic parts of those were the parts that I took away mostly from it. Because it's really a character piece. And you really do feel this guy going on a journey. He actually transforms over this whole movie.
I agree.
What he's like at the beginning when he's can walk and he's at the party to what he's like at the very end is a very different person, isn't it? He's gone through a lot of stuff and he's really turned everything around. I mean, he might still be a bit fucked up at the end.
Yeah, well, I think that's part of the lesson is you're never the person you think you should be because that person doesn't exist. They'll never exist. It's always you. Like no matter where you go, there you are, right? Yep. Mr. Buckaroo Banzai.
And even
wisdom.
Even visually, he looks better towards the end of the movie.
Do we determine how many years have passed? Because to convince me that he was 21
that was
at the beginning of this movie. Oh my God, difficult because he's like 50.
You know what? They try and make him look like 21. They just give him a crappy wig and a Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah. Oh, just as a side note for movie people out there, I have a great niece who just had a baby. It is my nephew's stepdaughter. She just had her second baby, and she named him River Phoenix. And their last name is Yardley. So we have a new River Phoenix in the world and she's only 20. But she has watched enough River Phoenix movies to know she's absolutely in love with who he was and his roles that he played. And so she named a child after him. That's a little movie trivia for you.
Yes.
I think that's awesome.
I don't know how old... Alexa, how old is Joaquin Phoenix?
Joaquin Phoenix is 44 years old.
Okay, he's 44 years old. Alexa, stop.
We're incorporating her into the podcast now?
Yeah.
Her.
She's good to ask for a quick... so he's 44 years old and they try and make him look 21?
Yeah.
But there is no... You know when Marvel do that really cool CG, make people look younger, and it actually works? They don't do that at all.
It's good. They just kind of left him alone, but still.
They just put a wig on him and jeans and a Hawaiian shirt, and that is... You're supposed to just go, oh yeah, he's 21. I didn't buy that at all.
No.
But what can you do, I guess, in a small independent movie? How do you make him look young? You can't make a person look younger unless you do CG, right? So what did you take away from it? What did you feel about the story? Were you behind? Did you like the guy? Did you grow to like him? Did you?
Well, it's an unusual question. You answer that so I know what template you're looking for. What kind of answer are you looking for?
Well, personally, I despise the character at the beginning.
Okay.
I hated when he's like at the party and he's like just looking, getting drunk and looking for he just seemed like out of sorts. In fact, he seemed a lot like the character from Inherent Vice that he played.
Yeah.
That same character. He's just this fucked up person who can't get anything together. And then he became paraplegic, which is horrible. And at first I didn't feel sorry for him because of how it happened. And then when Rooney Mara's character came in, and I wasn't quite clear, is she just like a volunteer who visits patients?
I don't even know if she was real. I got to thinking about, I don't know. But she seemed like that was her job. She just came in and talked to him one day, and then that was it.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what she was, though. Is she like hired by the hospital to visit patients, or is she just a person who's like who feels sorry for people and just? I don't know,
but she was a bit too dreamy at times. That's why I thought, is she real? Is she in his mind?
Yeah, you know? I mean, yeah, that you could take that, but I feel that she was real. But when she came into the picture, and you started to see, like, you know, when he was upside down in that contraption they put him in. And she was talking to him, and he smelled the flowers that she brought. And then that tear just started coming out of his eyes and dripping down his nose while he was talking. There was a ton of emotion in that scene. And that's where I started to go, oh, I think I'm starting to like this character. And by the end, I really liked him. It was weird. It was a big, it's like a slow burn, this movie, but like there is a huge shift in what he is at the beginning and what he isn't at the end.
Definitely.
And I really appreciated that. I thought it was not going on to the acting yet, but which is what this movie is. The best part of this movie is obviously the acting. But how did you? Were you the same as me? Did you just?
I didn't despise him.
I kind of did at the beginning. I was like, oh, this guy.
He felt sleazy.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit like tacky. Which he didn't really change when you think about it that much throughout the course of the movie. So I don't know. I didn't register him as like, oh, I hate this guy. And I kind of knew where we were going. We had references to wheelchairs. We had flashbacks, flash forwards. So I'm like, okay, he's going to end up in a wheelchair. It's going to humble him. Right? So I don't know. I just wasn't being like, ugh, he's gross.
I found it hilarious how he's in an electric wheelchair. And it seemed to me like he only knows how to press. Like, there's no, what do you call it? Like, nuance to his controlling of the wheelchair.
There's no medium. There's fast and off.
Yeah, and he just goes full speed the entire time, like, anywhere. Like, when he went into that doctor's office, full speed, and then he pulled up at the desk and just hit the chair out of the way. I was like, you know, he's just like, he doesn't really care. He's just...
Correct.
Just full speed, doesn't really care what people think. He falls out of his wheelchair at one point, it was a really cool stunt because it looked real.
It looked awful.
Those were the funny parts to me. He's actually quite a funny guy as well. There was some funny interaction between him and other people. Obviously, he becomes this cartoonist his views are... They're no more controversial than anybody today, right? You know,
no, he's just poking at things like social norms and expectations and trying to get a reaction. But it doesn't really address that much. It's not political. It's not about this guy trying to be anything. So I don't know what he was really like. Like, what was he just mad at the world? I don't know. I didn't really get that vibe.
No, and it really didn't.
But then you have to fill in the gaps yourself. Like this guy in a wheelchair. I don't know the true story, but it looks to me the way they made it, the way they portrayed it, that he just, once he started getting his head right, started just pounding the pavement and sending off submissions. You know, we get where he gets a rejection letter here and there, and he goes to one newspaper and they're like, whatever. And he goes to the local newspaper and they like it. So I was thinking about that too. Like, he must have just been like a really driven person, like hyper focused. Like, now I'm doing cartoons. Now I'm going to make it my thing. Because it showed him sort of obsessively drawing once he first started drawing, which I love.
Yeah, I'm throwing it. And even if it was slightly wrong, he screws it up and does it again.
Yeah.
And I liked how you saw like people's reactions to his cartoons, like come up to him in the street and they're like, I will never read that paper again. And he's like, that's my favorite reaction.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm actually, cool. That's what I want people to, be prickled by my stuff, you know.
Prickled? So, nice.
Yeah. So let's move on to the cast here. What did you feel about Joaquin Phoenix as John Callahan? And how do you feel about him in general?
In general, it's case by case, movie by movie. you know?
Yeah.
Can love him, can be like, he's just up his own ass, he's too much about himself, or he's really into this role. We watched You Were Never Really Here. That's one of those where it was a split thing. He's really self-indulgent, and yet it comes off really, it's just right.
Yeah, it is.
For that guy. And this one's the same. It's like, I felt it was palpable that he was trying to be respectful to a person who existed and to the people who knew that person. I felt that. I don't know that. That's not all
I felt that
shit,
too.
But
yeah.
I felt like if you go too far up your own ass and you're too pretentious about, I'm going to be this guy in a chair determined to whatever, then you're not really paying attention to the guy that existed. And I feel like he was very conscious of that, which made it better. So
true.
I just have to go movie by movie with him. So the next one, I could be like, ugh. And the next one, because you know who you're going to ask me about? Probably next.
Yeah. Next up is Jonah Hill as Donnie. And personally, I think this is the best I've ever seen Jonah Hill act.
I agree.
I mean,
And
it was...
What do you know about me and Jonah Hill?
You don't like him.
Correct.
Generally, I mean, not for any particular reason you don't like him.
He has for a particular reason. He was in Grandma or Grandma's Boy, and he was just a whiny...
Grandma's Boy. Is that what he was in?
I don't even know. I just know I hated him the first time I saw him, and I was like, ugh, I hate this
he was
kind
in
of
Superbad.
comedy.
That's where he became famous.
Never saw Superbad.
Right.
But I just didn't like how he was, and so that kind of wore me down for years. And then he was in
The Wolf of Wall Street.
Correct, and he was good. And then this, and we saw him something else where I was like, okay, I'll give him a chance. I don't remember what it was.
I don't get particularly sad. I mean, I get sad, but I don't. In this movie, he made me really sad.
Yeah.
Because that conversation he's having, he has a conversation with John Callahan towards the end of the movie. And it's a conversation where he's not saying it straight to him, but he's telling him that we probably won't see each other again.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really good friends. But then when he said that part of this journey is like to lose people.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing what, Donnie's character is dying. But he's not really said it out loud. And it made me really sad. I had a feeling that he was dying. Just in my mind, the way he was talking. The way he was talking, it was. But I think it was delivered really well. I really liked the beginning part when the first AA meeting, and where he walks up to the podium and he's kind of immediately engaging, and you see Joaquin Phoenix's character lock onto him like, oh, this guy.
Yeah, because he wasn't sympathetic and oh, poor us. He was just kind of, it's AA meeting is what he was.
Yeah.
Or hosting a talk.
But you see him just lock onto him like, oh, this guy's funny, but this isn't a funny situation, but wow, this might be somebody I could be a friend with. So yeah, excellent, Jonah Hill. I can't say more about it. I think this movie's been touted for some awards buzz for this season coming up. I can see why.
Yeah. Because
Gus Van Sant, he has been included in the Oscars and stuff before.
I mean, I can, but then you have to also consider the subject matter. Are we just... I don't know. Sometimes I think we get it. Alcoholism sucks. It's really hardcore. I mean, I couldn't give in to my urge to drink all the time, or I would have nothing. Because, not that I'm in their situation, but I always loved it. I drank from an early age. Early. Really early. I understand the pull toward an escape. What's the word? A compulsion to do a thing. And just knowing it's there makes you feel better about life and the world and everything. And now most people get that. A lot of people understand that. They're split. There's some people fucking get over it, you bunch of big babies. And the other people we get it. Life is hard, So some of these movies feel a little bit indulgent in that we're supposed to just coddle people on some level, right? About addiction and how it separates them from responsibility and all that. And yet inside this movie, none of the people are necessarily sympathetic to each other.
No.
So in the meetings, they're
Yeah, just get your head out your ass.
Yeah, you think you've got troubles, man. I've got heart cancer and I've got this and I've, was in Vietnam and all that shit. So inside the movie, it doesn't sympathize with each other necessarily. And yet there is an overriding sense of they're very delicate and need to be kind of handled with care. So I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if that overrides our sense of like, is this quality for real or is this just dig into our emotions so deeply that we, overlook any flaws. I don't know what the flaws would be, but, I want to be careful sometimes. And I'm like, oh, it's just so emotional and so meaningful that it's good. Because I don't know if that's always true.
Now, another emotional performance is Jack Black, who plays Dexter.
Oh, in the restaurant? My goodness. I was like, whoa.
Now, Jack Black's not in this movie much, but he is very crucial because he is the guy who crashes the car. Is responsible pretty much. So,
yeah.
But years later, John Callahan goes to meet with him to kind of. He's on this little mission, isn't he? To
he's doing the steps.
Yeah, to go and apologize to everybody and deal with everything,
forgive everyone.
Yeah. So he goes that whole scene where he goes to deal with it, where it was woof.
Yeah, it was hardcore.
Yeah, and Jack Black really delivered it, I think. Because Jack Black's just this guy working in a restaurant.
Because he hasn't come to the same conclusions.
He doesn't, he even says to him...
I've had a shitty life.
And, I've had a shitty life. Because John says, no, I've had a good life. I'm fine, it's all good. And he's like, no, I've had a shitty life. I'm like you. I'm trying to kick alcohol, but I suck at it, and I don't last very long.
It was good. I feel like it was some real emotions coming out there.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And Jack Black, I always think, whenever I look at him, it makes me, he's just going to do something goofy. Because, we're used to him doing goofy things. But in this, he just reined all the goofy stuff in. Even when he was just the guy in the party, he wasn't goofy Jack Black either.
True.
He was something else. Rooney Mara plays Anu. No, she's the love interest who appears in the movie for John. And like you said, is she real? She seems too perfect,
Yeah, everyone seems a bit ethereal at times. And I was like, is she even there? Once we know that he's seeing those gymnasts who aren't real, then you're like,
What do you think of her?
She was good.
You like her?
Yes, think so. What else has she been in? Just
Girl with the dragon tattoo.
Oh, that's right. That one.
Yeah.
No, I liked her. There's not a lot of her, but she's impactful in his life because we get to understand she's the love interest.
She's a real love, not just a girl. It turns...
Yeah.
You can tell, And she also has this thing that she's actually an air hostess, so she is not always there. And those scenes where she flies away and leaves him, it's you can tell that it's affecting his life completely. But you're right. Is she real? This movie didn't seem like that kind of movie though, where it would throw in a non-real.
It did. The gymnasts weren't real. Yeah, and the mother wasn't real, and the handprint wasn't real.
I'm thinking she's real though.
Okay. Well, I'll trust you.
But she did seem very. It was perfect, wasn't it?
Yep. But then they said they tried to make the movie in line with the way he wrote the book. And if that's how he saw her, fair enough.
Yeah, he could have been on really hardcore drugs when he was in that hospital, and she could have just, manifested herself in front of him.
Very true.
Oh yeah, and there was also the scene with the nurse, which I'm assuming wasn't real either. It was just imagination.
Oh, true. What's that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that went down that way. I think that's how he would have liked it to go down.
Yeah. Pardon the pun.
So this is directed... Yeah, exactly. That was unintentional. Directed by Gus Van Sant. You will know him. He directed an excellent movie called Elephant, which I think is my favourite movie of his. It's a very difficult subject matter. It's school shooting movie. And not many people make a movie about that. But it was just so excellently done. And it was at a time where the school shootings were kind of right on everybody's lips. Mm-hmm. And it was a real tough movie to watch. I wouldn't watch it again, but I really liked it. He also did Milk, which I think you liked a lot.
Yep.
He did Jerry, which is a really underrated movie, I think. Jerry. It's an old Miramax movie from like early 2000s. Matt Damon and it's both of them actually.
Batman.
Yeah. Matt Damon.
I like to call him Batman.
Ben Affleck. And he also did Good Will Hunting, which they won an Oscar for. So, what do you think of Gus Van Sant's directing? It's artistic, right?
It is artistic, and at times, again, I have that thing where it's a little bit like it's about me, about him, and how he. And it should. I don't know. I'm torn. I like the delicacy.
I like
and the full frontalness of it, or the full on of it. I don't know. I just feel like he's present a lot, which I don't particularly like.
I like his visual stuff too, like because Elephant had a lot of stuff that this movie kind of had too. It's not straight up filmed. There's a lot of, natural light in rooms and interesting looking,
true
angle shots.
Visually, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it looks really, really good. Actually, it's not like just some made-for-TV guy came and made this film. It doesn't look like that. It looks like somebody cares about how the movie looks. So,
no offense to all the made-for-TV people. Come on.
Extras. There are only 2 extras on this, inside the accident and inside the hospital. And the inside the accident featurette, explain that. It's kind of...
Inside the accident is just talking about how they made it look like an accident, but we didn't really see the actual thing in the movie, so it must have been a deleted scene.
Yeah, it looks like they actually filmed the accident properly, but in the movie, you see nothing, right? You just you see the car swerving on the road, and then you see him in the hospital.
Correct.
So either it didn't look great and they decided to cut it, or that one of the guys mentioned on the extra, this will look great when all the CG is done and stuff. Maybe they didn't have a budget for that.
Yeah, and there was none of that in the final, none of it.
Because this isn't like a huge budget movie or anything. And there's also Inside the Hospital, how they create it. Yeah, this is a period piece, really, set in the 70s.
Late 70s.
Early 80s.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit jumbled.
I feel like it, like towards the end of the movie when I said there's a transformation, he looks different. Mm-hmm. He's wearing a Sony Walkman, which I think came around in the 80s, didn't they? Mm. So that kind of dated it a little bit. But yeah, you're never quite sure what time it is. But I think the period part of the movie is good, though, because it just had a vibe. It wasn't today. At the beginning... when he talked to that girl on the beach and she was kind of not into him?
Yeah.
Looking at her, she looked contemporary. I was looking at her like, she just looks like a modern day, and he doesn't.
True.
And watching that scene, I was like, is this now or what? I don't know. Is this the 2010, like when he was just before he died?
No, because he was walking on the beach.
Exactly. So it was, there was parts where I was like, I'm not sure this is period or not. His Hawaiian shirt isn't making me think it's 1975 or whatever it is. Those are the extras, just those 2. There's no commentary. I think they wanted to get it out quick for the awards season. So, what's your conclusion on this movie? Don't worry, you won't get far on foot.
I enjoyed it.
And would you recommend to many people?
I don't know. Depends. I mean, it's kind of sad and it's kind of confronting.
It is.
I could immediately imagine people saying, "Oh my god, it's so boring." So I don't know.
I could see that from the
from the reviews.
But for me, like movies like this kind of movie where it's a drama and it's not about an action thing or anything like that. It's just about getting inside the characters and understanding everybody. And I feel that's what this did. Mm-hmm. I was behind most people, and I was the actual lesson or whatever him figuring out how he wants to progress in life. It actually came across well. Yeah. And it didn't feel like it dragged. It's 2 hours, this movie. It's not. But I actually really enjoy it, but I am very partial to drama and telling the true story of somebody who I don't necessarily know anything about. I like that. So, I would recommend it. Thanks to Lionsgate for giving us a copy for review. If you want to win some movies, you could. The movie we're reviewing next week. Who is probably one of my least favorite directors?
Least favorite? I don't even know.
You will want to say it. Because you're probably not going to guess it. I thought you'd immediately come out with it, but you don't know me well enough, I guess.
I don't know you well enough.
It's Spike Lee.
I was just about to say, is it 25th Hour? But
yeah.
That's him.
Spike Lee does a thing in his movies that is too... It's not subtle enough for me, and it bugs me. And he generally does it in most of his movies. It's a political thing. I don't care about his political message. It just doesn't... It's like I've made a movie, and then I've got this other point that I want to say that I'm going to stick in the movie. It kind of bugs me. It feels out of place. But there again, I don't hate all his movies because I loved that Saint Anna movie, the war one. Now, next week, we're looking at Spike Lee's new movie, Black Klansman. So, from the KKK cartoons of this week to the real KKK next week. So, will Black Klansman turn me around on Spike Lee?
Don't know.
What I wanted to say was, if you want to win a copy of Black Klansman on Blu-ray, go to ascully.com. We have a contest going at the moment, and you can win a copy. It's out next week, and the contest ends pretty soon. So, movie recommendations. I am going on this movie, Don't Worry, You Won't Get Far on Foot, with I really love this movie, American Splendor. You can see why I would put that with this. It's about another cartoonist. True. And his life. And it's kind of a little bit avant-garde, that one. I mean, it sometimes he goes inside his comics. It's a little bit odd, but it's the story of him. And he's a person who is dying of cancer, right?
Correct.
And it's really sad, but very interesting. So I'm going with American Splendor. And my least favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie, who I love Paul Thomas Anderson, but Inherent Vice, I've seen it twice now, and I still it hasn't clicked with me. I feel like it should click with me because of who made it. And Joaquin Phoenix is also the main character in that. And doesn't that character feel a little bit like this character? But it's a bit more over the top.
Yeah.
It's kind of a stoner, 70s, Hawaiian shirts, you know. But I'm recommending Inherent Vice because if you saw it and you're a Paul Thomas Anderson fan and it didn't click with you either, maybe it will if on repeat viewing. So, and if I get the chance to recommend a Paul Thomas Anderson film, I will. So what are yours?
Mine are, I'm going to enter the holiday season since Halloween's over now. And it's time, right? I'm going to say Love Actually. Just get it done. Get her done. Go ahead and watch it, everybody.
Love
Get it out of your system.
Is the greatest romantic comedy in the world.
You're such a sap. My God.
I love it. It's really funny.
You do. I know you do. And my other one is what we just finished watching, the second and final season of
Iron Fist.
Iron Fist on Netflix. Because it was really good.
And people dissed Iron Fist, and now it's really been cancelled.
It's just quality. It's like, I understand how people might not love it. I do. Because it's not like the others. But it's just quality. The people are trying so hard. The scenes are good. The fighting is good. And I don't like fighting scenes. I mean, I just felt like it's got a raw deal.
I do too. And it ended so strongly.
Yeah.
It was such a strong ending. It would have been another season. But the great thing about these Marvel shows is now we've got another one to watch, and that's Daredevil Season 3. So we're going to move on.
Yeah. Let it go.
Yeah, we're moving on from Iron Fist to Daredevil. We'll talk about Daredevil next week. So I have been playing some games this week. A little game called Red Dead Redemption 2. I love it.
You do.
You've seen me play it a lot. Yes. I'm still only 33% complete or something. And I've played it so many hours. There's so many things to do. It's hard to do it all, you know? But I love it. Like I said to you, people who complain about games being really long, if you're enjoying that game, why do you want it to end? Because I always feel like empty when it ends. You know, when a good movie ends and you're like, oh, I really love that. And it's over now.
That's how I feel when my bowl of popcorn's running out.
Yeah, I feel that with video games and movies. It's like, oh, that's all of that movie now. Oh, that's all of that game. And yes, I can play that game and watch that movie again. It isn't the same, is it, the second time?
No, I mean, it depends on the movie.
Unless you,
but yeah.
If there was an invention where you could just erase like the last 2 hours of your life to enjoy movies again. Like,
this doesn't sound good because you wouldn't know that you enjoyed it the first time. You wouldn't have the accumulative effect of enjoying it multiple times.
You get Star Wars and you get it, and then you look at it and you go, okay, press the erase button, and then you watch it.
Yeah, but you won't know that you watched it the first time.
Don't look at it too differently.
You would also you wouldn't realize that you've seen it so many times. So no, that's not a good plan.
I would like to experience I would like to play GTA 5 as though and not know anything about it again. Because I can play it again, and I have. But I know every single thing that's coming. I know every line of dialogue is, it's not the same. So, what is for dinner?
Jimmy John's.
Oh, before the dinner thing, I have not finished with the games.
Oh. Jimmy John. It's still going to be Jimmy John's.
There's a game coming out this week, on Friday, coming up, called Tetris Effect.
Whoa.
And you might think, oh, Tetris. What? Who cares? Nah, this is not just Tetris. This is Miyaguchi, who is the guy who made Lumines and Rez. Really, really awesome. His thing, Miyaguchi, is mixing visuals with audio to create some kind of...
See, now you're making me want to go play it.
Yeah, it's to give you some kind of feeling. You know, like when you watch a movie and they play just the right song at just the right time?
Yep.
And it makes you feel a certain way? That's what he tries to do with games. And I think he has succeeded he did it with Tetris. Basically, has made a new Tetris game that is the fanciest Tetris game you've ever seen. I mean, it plays just like a Tetris game, right? If you ignore all the visuals and the audio, it's just Tetris in the middle there. There's nothing special about the Tetris part. But the music and the video,
experience.
And the controller, it pulses in time to the music. The whole thing is... it's like Lumines, if you've ever played that, but with the real Tetris game in the middle of it. It's coming out this week. If you manage to listen to this podcast until the end of Monday, you can play a demo of it, which is what we played this week to see if we liked it. And the demo is really good. There's a lot to play there, isn't there? There's this fun new Tetris mode where it does weird things to your Tetris board every so often, like randomly. And it can be anything. Well, there's lots of different ones. There's all of a sudden, you only get the long 4 block, for a while, which is really fun because you're like, yeah, I get to stack.
But then those things become a curse because you're like, okay, I don't have anything to do with it, and then
yeah. And then another thing can be the board turns upside down and your controls reverse, which is like the one that really I can't deal with.
I never got that one. It was funny that you kept getting it and I did not.
But I find that mode of Tetris, which I'd never even thought of as a mode of Tetris, is really fun because you don't know what to expect and you can't really prepare for it. And you think you're doing really well, and then all of a sudden it's just all on its head and you're just literally on its head. So that's Tetris Effect. It's out this week, coming up on Friday. I will tell you more about it on next week's show because we will play it.
Definitely.
What's your advice?
Don't let anyone else define your life. Don't let anyone... this movie reminded me of that in this movie, one of the 12 steps is to accept that there's a higher power and you're powerless to it and that you have to give in to it to allow it to take control of the things you don't have control of, right? That's part of AA and NA as well. And I thought, and he's alluding to his God, not necessarily a Christian God, because he calls it Chucky. And then he says, well, and then we understand now that the main lead guy decides that his God is, who was it? 10.
Yeah.
Bo Derek's, was it Bo Derek?
Yeah.
Somebody's vagina. Okay,
it was Raquel Welch.
Raquel Welch's vagina. Right. So we're not saying, the movie's not saying God is the Christian God. A God is the Christian God. Right, that you have to believe in. Now, I don't believe in anything, if you haven't listened
Not even Raquel Welch's vagina?
No, I mean, I believe she has one. I don't think that's a matter of belief. I don't believe that it has any magical powers. I don't believe there is any of that. That's just me. And so, but in my life, you can imagine even people hearing this will be like, they get offended. They want to change you. They want to inject you with their thing. And I'm wrong, but they're right. So they can say things like, I'll pray for you. And if you say, oh, well, prayers don't mean anything except thank you for thinking about me. I mean, there is no God. You get slated. But if they insist that by praying for you, that tells you they think there's a higher power, and they're going to tell this higher power about your little problem, and then the higher power is going to listen to that one individual and solve your problem, or whatever the process is. And if you question that, or you put any push against that, you get bigger pushback, or you get rejected, you get unfriended, you get set aside. And some people could give in to that and just be like, okay, I guess I do believe in the thing they say, and I'll try really hard to, if I have a bad day and then I feel good, I guess I will assume that that's the God thing making me feel better because everybody says that it is. And then over time, you've let someone else define your life for you, when in fact, you may not feel that at all. I have fantastic days. I have down days. We have bad things in life, sad things in life. Nothing has ever inspired me. Nobody's preaching, nobody's pushing, nobody's judgments, which is really ironic with the whole don't judge anybody thing. People judging you for not believing their beliefs, always pushing against you to somehow absorb you into their thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's just this constant thing. And I can think of the good things in life for what they are. It's a good day. I feel good. Happy things are happening. And then tomorrow we'll see what happens. And I'm perfectly content, happy with that. That gives my life meaning. Someone insisting that the reason I feel this way is because they've decided about some God somewhere. It's not reasonable. Like, it's not reasonable to decide and define for me anything. And I mean anything. Don't define what my marriage should be or to whom I should be married. Don't define how I should dress or how I should communicate with you. If you don't like it, that's cool. That you don't want to stick around it, that's cool. Don't decide that I'm wrong because I'm not you. And just think about it. You didn't decide those things either. Someone decided them for you. Someone decided there was a thing, that the politics are a thing, that whatever these opinions are, and you absorbed it or let it push into you. Maybe you came to the honest conclusion. That's cool. That's the way it should work. But have you really? Did you give in to something? Did you let someone else define a thing for you, and then you just were too lazy or too afraid to confront it, and then maybe come to a different conclusion? So my whole speech today is don't let other people define your life, with the caveat that the things you want to do and the way you want to live are not to harm and destroy other people. That's the that's the no-no in the plan. I'm not talking about someone who decides they want to go hurt someone and that's how they want to be happy, and so therefore that's good enough. That's not. We all know what I'm saying.
Well said.
Was it?
All right, so you can catch us on ascully.com. This podcast exists on the Google Play Store, the iTunes Music Store, the YouTube.
YouTube.
It's also on Amazon devices. Just say your trigger word, whatever that would be. You know, begins with an A usually. And then say, listen to After the Show movie podcast on TuneIn. It will play you the latest episode. You can even stop listening and come back and pick up where you left off with that feature. You can also email me at ascully@ascully.com. Catch us on Twitter and Facebook, like I said. And don't email Sid Talk. She really, really dislikes everybody here.
That is not accurate.
And I want to say, stay classy, Mr. Gus Van Sant. You do make some really interesting, classy movies.
And I'm going to say, think for yourself, or someone is probably doing it for you.